Well, Sandy, today a topic that actually we can't talk about enough, and that is nice guy, no chemistry. Thank you so much for joining us again on Second Act TV. I want to welcome back Sandy Weiner, the dating coach and author of Choice Points in Dating. Right? No, you have to practice how to point. Sandy, thanks so much for being here again.
It's always a pleasure to be with you, Silka.
Well, Sandy, today a topic that actually we can't talk about enough, and that is nice guy, no chemistry. So let's talk about that. You wrote an article on this about 5 tips, 5 considerations, if you're looking for love and this is happening to you.
Yeah, and it's such a common thing that we don't feel instant chemistry and we're looking for that spark. And we look at the movies and you look at somebody across the room and, oh my God, my heart is fluttering. And that's actually a bad thing. So we don't want to feel that. And so the first thing is don't look for that instant chemistry. And I know that so many people write it in their profiles, like when I see it, I'll know it, but actually you may not know it. You probably are going to have it build over time. Butterflies are usually lust and not that kind of connection that we're looking for. It means that we're unsettled in some way, we're anxious, and that's really not what we're looking for in the long run.
Yeah. The reason I said at the top too that this is especially important for women is because I think I've read research on this that women actually, if you talk to women in long-term relationships, they will tell you that chemistry grew, that it wasn't necessarily there to begin with, or this this huge spark that, like you said, that could actually be a bad thing because it pushes us to make the bad decisions with the bad boys. And then Sandy, let's briefly define, nice guy. What does that mean?
So there's a lot of ways to define nice. I think that when we're talking about the kind of nice that you want to give a chance to, we're talking about a person who may not be super hysterically funny right away, but has a lot of good qualities. They're people who follow through on their commitments. They check all the boxes that you think you need. They have good jobs. They pay their bills on time. They do all the right things, but they're just not doing it for you in the sexual way. And so there's this question of how much time do you give to the nice person, and can attraction grow with this person? Those are the things we need to really think about.
And to your point too here, that build on other types of chemistry. I actually hadn't heard it put that way, that there's 5 different types of chemistry. Let's talk about that. First one you say is physical.
Right. So that's the one that we generally look at. Do I feel physically drawn to this person? Do I like their look? Do I like the way that I feel with them? But then there are 4 other ways of building chemistry that we don't always look at. The second one is emotional chemistry. Is what does this person bring out in me emotionally? How are we together? Do I feel safe opening up? Do I feel a connection where that person is vulnerable? I can be vulnerable with them. The third type is intellectual. So often we will have an intellectual chemistry with a person, but it doesn't grow into that sexual chemistry because that person doesn't really have that kind of suave game that we call it. But we do feel like so excited talking to them about things that are interesting to us. Maybe we share common podcast, a love for different shows or books. And again, this is a type of chemistry, but alone, none of these are enough. Number 4 is the creative energy. Creative energy is something that I really value because I'm an artist, but I love people who are creative and inventors, entrepreneurs, people who are just always buzzing with ideas. And the 5th level of chemistry is spiritual. So that's more of, how do we see the world? Do we bond on our love of Jesus or something? It just, there are ways that people bond like that. It's like some ethereal kind of chemistry.
what I found interesting here, the intellectual, I've never thought about intellectual chemistry. And on a personal note, I think that's in some ways more important than the physical, because I mean, I connect with people intellectually, or being able to talk with them, having great conversations, or just respecting their intellect. Because physical, I mean, looks, yeah, looks are great if you happen to connect, but boy, that's fleeting. It's so fleeting. Anyway, that's my opinion.
No, it's
I'm
fleeting, but also physical connection grows with the right kinds of other connections. So let's
right.
say you meet somebody and you feel like you're laughing with them and you enjoy
Yep.
so many of common interests and you have that emotional connection. All of a sudden, you're finding them more physically attractive. And
Yeah.
I shared a story, I think I shared it with my group recently. There was a woman I knew who had been dating a guy where the physical chemistry was off the charts. And he was also not consistent. He didn't follow through on commitments. And after a couple of dates, she just said, I can't date this guy anymore. It's making me crazy, even though he
Mm-hmm.
was really physically attractive and she was very, very drawn to him.
Mm-hmm.
And then she got set up with this other guy, and he was not attractive to her. And she said, well, I'll go out again because he's a really nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
And by the third date, he gave her a hug. And she said it felt like a bolt of electricity ran through her body. And she was shocked because she
Yeah.
didn't feel that physical connection. And they're married and happily married today. So you never know, but that's why you can't, people do become more physically attractive or less physically attractive
Mm-hmm.
depending on the connection.
Well, and number three, you alluded to already, is have realistic expectations about chemistry. What do you mean by that exactly?
Yeah, we again have this idea that chemistry should be the butterflies and it should
Mm-hmm.
be the Hollywood stereotype and it should be what we read about. And I'm actually reading a book where there's one character who wants that Hollywood love. She is kissing a lot of boys so she can practice for when she meets this guy, but it's an unrealistic expectation that she's going to replicate something she saw in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
So instead, we really need to get to know real life couples, people
Mm-hmm.
who really are successful and have a deep connection and see what makes them gel, because
Mm-hmm.
that's the kind of chemistry that's built through your
Yeah.
shared values, your shared interests, and the compatibility we feel, how we talk about things.
Yeah.
So that's chemistry to me. That's like a real connection.
Oh, I totally agree. Totally agree. And we make, again, with the physical chemistry and the sparks, we make so many excuses that this person is the right person, the right guy. That we're talking to women
Mm-hmm.
today, where if it builds slowly, you make so much better choices. And looking back, again, I think a lot of women will agree with that. I look forward to the comments on this. And again, we're not really talking. Well, we're talking to men, obviously, but I want to hear from women, what your experience has been. And then, of course, I want the opinion of our guys. Is how, what do you think? What do you think about this? So here's one that I definitely would like our guys' opinion on. One of your tips: go on more exciting dates. I've never really thought about that. What a great tip. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, the traditional dates that people go on, especially when meeting for the first time in online dating, is you
Mm-hmm.
meet for coffee, you meet for a drink, and they're all kind of the same. And those
Mm-hmm.
traditional dates where you're sitting across from somebody and trying to force conversation, that can lead to kind of a boring date with somebody
Mm-hmm.
who may not be so boring. So when you get out of your comfort zone and you do something that's exciting, like go-karting, bungee jumping, axe throwing. I was watching The Bachelorette and they went on a date where they did bungee jumping off a bridge. This was a memory that, number one, they both were so far out of their comfort zone that it created all of these hormones and exciting just stuff jitters that ran through the body. But it was also something that they really could recall as a real shared moment. And
Mm-hmm.
this can be bonding. I mean, I went go-karting with a guy once on a first, I think it was a first date. We went out for sushi and then we went go-karting. It was one of the best dates I ever had because It was memorable. It was scary to me because I
Hmm.
was doing something I hadn't done probably since I was a kid. And it also was playful and fun, and it brought out our playful side, which to me is also really sexy. So
Hmm.
that's the kind of connection that can actually spark romance versus let's drink some caffeine in the middle of the day.
Well, how do you that leads me to another question though, because we say that on a first date, make it quick, make it someplace where you can get out if there's no attraction. And there's a difference between attraction and chemistry also.
Right. So there is that balance between, I don't want to spend too much time with somebody if it's a bad connection, but that's why I also recommend getting on a call before you
Hmm.
meet someone. So that is almost like the first date.
Hmm.
You really are starting to get to know, can I have a conversation with this person?
Hmm.
Is it easy to talk to them? Do we have enough in common to even go on a date? And
Hmm.
then it doesn't, I mean, this could be a second date for sure. The person I went go karting with, there was a common connection. We had a friend in
Hmm.
common. We had several phone calls before we met. So I felt like I knew him
Hmm.
already.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I don't think I'd be comfortable going on that long of a date to have dinner and go karting. That was a lot. But axe throwing, or bowling. Bowling, I've gone on first bowling dates. Those are fun. And that
Hmm.
could be an hour, doesn't have to be more than that. You get to know somebody's competitive edge. You can just have fun, see how they deal with the balls that go in the gutter. And, those are all important
Yeah.
things. And so,
Yeah.
I've done museum dates on a first date after also
I like
getting to
that.
know someone a little on the phone. And museum dates are really fun. I just find you want to give a little bit more of a dimension to the dates. It'll
Hmm.
definitely spark some romance if there is something in there.
Yeah. No, that's great advice. You absolutely have to have those phone calls, talk, see what the connection is on the phone. And then yeah, you can do something more fun. I What came to mind when you were talking is like a pickleball.
Mm,
Pickleball is just crazy. There's all kinds of articles on couples meeting and marrying, and I mean I love it. Or what I used to do is running. I was a big runner then, and if somebody was a runner, that's sort of where it went. We
yep.
connected on the phone, and then hey, let's go do this run, let's do that. And that was a really a great way to yeah, get past the doldrums of the coffee date.
That's a great, yeah, those are great ideas. I have had clients who went dog walking on a first date in Central Park in New York, like just there's so much you can do. So just get creative.
Yeah, exactly. The last point here, make the second date the default. How do you advise doing that?
Yeah, so there are some dating coaches who say go on at least 6 dates because you don't know your date until then. I think that's totally bad advice
Hmm.
because 6 dates is too many with somebody that you really don't feel a connection with. But
Right.
if you give somebody at least 2 dates, and I'm not talking about people where you know that there's red flags and it's
Hmm.
terrible. I'm talking about if you're dating a nice guy
Right.
and you're not feeling the sparks, go on another date and just see if some chemistry starts to develop. Because people get first date jitters, they get nervous, they
Hmm.
don't always reveal the humor or parts of themselves. We all do that. I mean, you're
Hmm.
meeting a total stranger. And so the nice guy may show up as somebody more fun, more interesting on the
Yeah.
second date.
Yeah.
So make that date the default instead of the first.
Yeah. Well, and you brought up a great point, and that is when we talk about giving, people a chance, give a guy a chance, there has to be some connection there. It's the lack of that spark that, maybe we've had before, or that we expect for all the wrong reasons. And you can't force it. You can't force it. That's certainly not what we're saying, but offering some good tips of how, you might find it to develop. Anything else that you want to say on this topic, Sandy, before we close our segment?
Yeah, I want to address the nice guy who actually is not nice
Okay.
because there are nice guys who come across as the nice guy. I'm so
Hmm.
nice. I'm just
Right.
so nice. And they're actually just manipulative and
Yes.
they're trying to get you in their
Yes.
good graces and they're really not nice. And
Hmm.
so it's important to really see like if you feel that this person keeps telling you they're nice, that's a sign they're probably not very nice because you don't
Yeah.
have to tell somebody, you show them. And then there are also nice guys who are going to be bland
Hmm.
and they're going to be people pleasers. That's one of the reasons why nice guys finish last is they're really not, that's not really who they are.
Hmm.
They're just trying to make you happy, but they then
Yes.
are not themselves. So they have no backbone. They're not really the kind of person that you want to see often, you want to go out with again. So I just think we have to discern between, is this a nice person? Is it not a nice person?
Hmm.
Is it a nice but bland person? Is this a nice person with potential to be in a relationship?
Hmm.
And if you do start to see things developing and growing, keep giving them a chance. And if
Yeah.
they don't, if you're not laughing together, if the sparks don't grow, then move on. This person isn't for you. And don't feel guilty about it. I
Hmm.
think that's the other issue. So many people feel bad. I should like the
Yeah.
nice guy.
Hmm.
There's usually
Yeah.
another reason why you don't like the nice guy. And
Hmm.
so don't feel bad about it. Just you
Yeah.
need to have that balance of brain and, head and heart.
Yeah.
It's not just one thing.
Yeah, no, great advice. And I feel like the same way that nice can actually be manipulative. And I'm so glad you pointed that out. So again, Sandy, thank you for your time. I, as always, will link to all of your information to your coaching site. I think several of our people have called you.
Yes.
Yeah, you always have such a great response. And of course, your book that is, oh, I'm pointing the wrong way again, Choice Points in Dating. That definitely is a guide to help you get through some of these early steps and, maybe come up more successful on the other side. So again, thank you. And I look forward to our next discussion on Second Act TV.